On the 31st of July 2007, the beach at Harlech in West Wales was busy with families enjoying the sunshine, paddling in the sea or picnicking on the beach. One local resident standing in very shallow water just off the beach noticed something metallic sticking up out of the sand. It was difficult to see properly, but the following week he returned at low tide and saw the unmistakable tip of an old aircraft wing jutting up out of the wet sand. Photographing what he had found, the man contacted the Ministry of Defence to report the wreck, but the ministry's response was not enthusiastic. They told him it was probably the remains of a target drone used for gunnery practice at a nearby RAF station in the 1950s. Nonetheless, the man gave the story to the local newspaper along with a photo of the wingtip. The article caught the attention of local World War II historian Matt Rimmer, who knew instantly, based on the photograph, what was buried beneath the sands of Harlech Beach: a Lockheed P-38 Lightning. Contacting the discoverer of the wingtip, they visited the site. Shifting sands had revealed more of the wreck. It appeared that the plane was remarkably intact. So how had it ended up buried on a Welsh beach? The P-38 was an unusual design, a single-seat, twin-engine, twin-boom design that was one of the most successful fighter aircraft of World War II, with over 10,000 being built. It was used as an effective fighter bomber, night fighter, long-range escort and reconnaissance aircraft. On the 27th of September 1942, Second Lieutenant Robert Elliott took off from a US base in Wales, towing a target to be used for gunnery practice. The P-38 was part of the 49th Fighter Squadron 14th Fighter Group that had arrived in England in late August 1942 and had conducted fighter sweeps along the Dutch and Belgian coasts from bases in England before being sent to Wales for further training. Elliott had made a mistake on takeoff. Standard practice was to take off using the reserve tanks, but he forgot to switch to main tanks 15 minutes into the flight. After being airborne for 55 minutes, his port or left engine lost power. Believing his plane had engine trouble rather than fuel starvation, Elliott feathered the port propeller, and he turned for his airfield. He jettisoned his towed target at 1,000 feet, and as he approached the airfield, still 2 miles out, and at an altitude of 800 feet, his starboard or right engine began to splutter. Elliott realized that he couldn't make the runway. Searching desperately for somewhere flat and long enough to safely land the P-38, Harlech Beach seemed his best bet. Elliott successfully crash-landed the plane on the beach in about 2 inches of water. His squadron was less than pleased when it became clear that pilot error had been the cause of the plane's loss. The P-38 remained where it was. The 14th Fighter Group was deployed to North Africa to an Operation Torch, the Allied landings there. And Elliott was tragically killed in a dogfight with German Messerschmitt Bf 109s on the 5th of December 1942, and neither his body nor his aircraft were ever found. In World War II Britain, beaches were closed to the public as an anti-invasion measure. The press was also forbidden to print articles about subjects like wrecked Allied aircraft, which would be bad for morale. Before the beach was reopened to holidaymakers after the war, Elliott's P-38 had vanished, sinking into the ever-shifting sands. No one ever reported a plane wreck on the beach for 65 years until the wingtip became exposed in 2007. So who owns the wreck? Interestingly, any United States military aircraft that crashed before 1961 and that is wholly or partially unrecovered is considered abandoned by the US authorities. Therefore, the US has no interest in such aircraft as the P-38 on Harlech Beach. However, such wrecks do fall under British law, specifically the Protection of Military Remains Act 1986, meaning it's against the law to tamper with the wreck. Because of these two laws, the wreck's ownership rests with the landowner of the beach. However, permission was given to survey the wreck. A team from the US-based International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, or TIGAR, spent 8 days carefully surveying the wreck in 2007. But soon after the survey was complete, the shifting sands on the beach once more covered it over, protecting it from storm damage and looters. Then, in 2014, the P-38 was exposed once more, and the Malvern Archaeological Diving Unit obtained a government license to investigate the wreck. Big storms had stripped the protective layer of sand from the wreck. The idea has always been that one day the so-called Maid of Harlech can be removed from the beach and preserved in a museum, a very costly operation that will be a major challenge to complete. For now, the P-38 wreck is once again buried beneath the beach's shifting sands, safe from damage, but will become exposed again in the future. Hopefully, this fascinating wreck can one day be saved for public display. It also throws up an interesting notion. Are more World War II plane wrecks buried under British beaches? The answer must be probably, due to the amount of activity over the British Isles during World War II and the number of plane crashes and forced landings. Who knows what aerial treasures lie sleeping in the shallows awaiting discovery? Tiger has begun a fundraising campaign to support the P-38's recovery and eventual display in a museum. You can contribute to the Maid of Harlech Memorial Fund in the link in the description box below. Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton. You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.